In recent years, one of the most successful Wall Street investors has been Bill Ackman. He's built Pershing Square into one of the most successful and listened to firms in all of Wall Street. But he's also been outspoken in a number of other areas, including philanthropy and politics. I had a chance to sit down with Bill in his office recently to talk about a variety of issues, including his latest bet on where the economy is going. There is a general consensus in the United States, in some circles, that we probably have avoided a recession for the near future. We're going to have a so-called soft landing. That's the consensus. Is that your view as well?
I think it's really hard to predict. I do think the economy is weakening. We're seeing, evidence of that in some of our companies. You're seeing, I have some concerns. There's been a huge subsidy in terms of low interest rates, and most companies fix their rates or their debt at very low rates, and certainly real estate investors did the same. And that works until it doesn't work. And so I think what's going to be interesting is to see what happens when people have to reprice their debt. And I think that can have sort of a cliff-like effect. And you're certainly seeing that in real estate.
Now, the markets are assuming, and the markets are not always right, but the markets are assuming that there's going to be a Fed discount cut sometime next year. And as we talk now, just about the end of November, it's not clear what the Fed will do, but some people say that the Fed, if they were to cut interest rates next year, would help the Democrats and therefore be seen as very political. On the other hand, some people say the Fed can't wait till after the election because the economy might need a stimulus. So you have a view on what the Fed's likely to do?
I think they're going to cut rates, and I think they're going to cut rates sooner than people expect, because what's happening is the real rate of interest, ultimately, which is what impacts the economy, keeps increasing as inflation declines, right? So if the Fed keeps rates in the sort of middle fives, and inflation is trending below 3%, or that's a very high real rate of interest, and I think that is having a sort of retarding effect on the economy. And then, of course, again, many businesses and certainly many individuals have the benefit of fixed rate debt, and that fixed rate debt, certainly for companies and for commercial real estate, starts to roll off. So I think there's a risk of a hard landing if the Fed doesn't start cutting rates, pretty soon. So, I think the market expects sometime middle of next year. I think it's more likely probably as early as Q1.
For the economy itself, do you think it really is going to make a difference if President Trump if he's the Republican nominee and gets elected, or if President Biden is the Democratic nominee, he's elected?
I do think leadership matters enormously in everything from the economy to geopolitics, and I hope we're going to have a broader selection than Trump and Biden. I think Biden's done a lot of good things, but I think his legacy will not be a good one if he is the nominee. I do think the right thing for Biden to do is to step aside and to say he's not going to run and create the opportunity for some competition of alternative.
Why do you think that?
Well, I think he's past his prime in a kind of meaningful way. I do think it's a bit like being CEO of a major company. It's a full-time job, and you need to be you need to be strong. You need to be at your intellectual best. And I don't think Biden is there. And I don't say that with any derision of the president. I always respect the president and want whoever the president is to be successful. But I think he's clearly past his physical and cognitive peak.
So you're a young, experienced investment professional. You ever thought about running for office yourself?
I think if the country wanted me at some point, I would be open to it. It's not. I think it's not my time. I still have a lot of work to do, and if I ever would take that step, I would have to do. I'd have to find myself at a time in life when I felt ready to take on that kind of responsibility. But it's something where the country would have to ask me, as opposed to me put myself out there.
Let's talk a moment about the background of